The increasing frequency and intensity of typhoons and floods are killing thousands and displacing millions of people every year. Mega Typhoon Haiyan that made landfall in the Philippines on the 8th of November 2013 was one. Recorded as the most powerful in history to hit land, Haiyan brought havoc to countless people, houses, infrastructures, and natural resources in eastern Visayas region of the Philippines. Millions were left homeless and sources of income disappeared while thousands lost family members as a result of this mega disaster. These paved the way for the pouring of assistance from both the national and international communities in the days that followed. But the few hours and the early days after seemed to be an eternity of trauma and sufferings for the victims with no immediate help in sight. Despite the disorientation and devastation, the local communities pulled together and struggled to extend assistance to the most vulnerable citizens. The local government units and organizations played pivotal roles in this respect as they became the first responders. The time gap between the disaster and humanitarian response that followed was crucial for survival of those in ground zero. As proven in the case of Haiyan, help can only be provided by the people themselves a few hours after the disaster. Therefore, it is important to build local capacities, local preparedness of communities and institutions such as local government units and local organizations to reduce future disaster losses.
Building community capacities in reducing disaster risk. So in this is something which is also implemented in the same barangays where we are doing other activities like CBMS and land use planning. And this, building on those two set of activities, in addition, plus as part of this project, community-based risk management, conducting participatory capacity and vulnerability assessment, compiling all this data, and helping communities to develop their own disaster contingency plans, their own disaster risk reduction management plans and investment, and having their own disaster management groups. And these disaster management groups, different kinds of units, will be thoroughly trained by MSB and its partners, especially PDRN and the local government units, so that by end of 2015 October, we have well-trained volunteers in each barangays where we are working to deal with the disasters before they strike, during they strike, after they strike, and have robust plans for avoiding the impacts of disasters when they strike, especially the typhoons, the landslides, etc. And so we have planned all these activities in an integrated manner so that the data feeds into each other and feeds into the provincial and municipal level disaster risk management plans in Biliran province in selected municipalities. So similar activity we are also doing in Tacloban and Palo. That way I will explain to you separately later. Now this, this whole project, we are extremely grateful for very dynamic, proactive and progressive partnership that we are enjoying with Provincial Disaster Risk Management Office in Biliran, Department of Interior and Local Government Office in Biliran, all the local municipalities, staff and mayors of like Biliran, Kaprukan and other municipalities, and of course our host UNDP and the staff of UNDP, and MSB feels that the resources that it has brought from Swedish people are rightly used, effectively used and efficiently used in Biliran because of these wonderful partnerships, the progressive partnerships and the committed partnerships that we have. And we are happy and confident that these resources, contributions from the Swedish people are making some positive impact in the lives of people in Biliran province of Philippines.
The rigorous local consultations conducted by UNDP with its partners revealed key factors of vulnerability in Biliran, such as lack of barangay baseline information, specifically the assessment of the critical resources at risk. Barangay disaster risk reduction and management committees have limited resources and early warning system, limited access to timely and accurate scientific information on disasters, and the need for a continuing enhancement of knowledge and skills, specifically the members of the Barangay Development Council and the CBDRRM committees. Recognizing the need, the Swedish Civil Contingency Agency and the United Nations Development Program, in collaboration with People's Disaster Risk Reduction Network, Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, Department of Interior and Local Government Agency, and the local municipalities, initiated the community-based disaster risk reduction program in Biliran Province. After consultations and the inception meeting that followed, 14 barangays in 3 municipalities were selected to pilot community-based risk reduction and management program in Biliran and Leyte provinces. These barangays are prone to tropical cyclones, storm surges, rain-induced landslides, flooding, and earthquakes. The CBDRRM approach prioritizes community who are at the front lines of the immediate impact of disaster and emergency response. Typhoon Haiyan experiences point to the need for at-risk communities to be at the heart of decision-making that involves reduction of their vulnerabilities and enhancing their capacities. As key driver of the recovery process and essential cornerstone of disaster risk reduction efforts, the barangay themselves will have to undertake the vast majority of DRM actions through a bottom-up approach. CBDRRM is a process that involves the people in a barangay representing all sectors therein, physicality, economic status, and social standing in developing disaster management plan. In this process, barangay residents identify threats and needs, then implement the disaster management plan in consonance with the present local scene. The 3 major activities pursued prior to CBDRRM planning are hazard, vulnerability, and capacity assessments. Following these processes, CBDRRM in Biliran has implemented 6 major steps such as training of CP facilitators, community-level rapid risk assessment, barangay contingency planning formulation workshop, development of community-based early warning and communication system, drill simulation exercise, and institutionalization and sustainability. A series of training of trainers was also conducted on various aspects of CBDRRM for the 35 potential trainers identified by local government units. They include municipal disaster risk reduction and management officers, community leaders, the staff of the ILG, provincial authorities, etc. After the training of trainers, the project conducted community-level rapid risk assessment in the barangays. The risk assessment process involved establishment of basic information about the community, such as updating of demographic and socio-economic profile, identification of critical resources of the barangay, hazard assessment, identification and determining the level of exposures, especially population, properties, livelihoods, and lifelines. Subsequently, barangay contingency planning formulation workshops were conducted in the barangays. The planning workshop in its target community was conducted for 2 days to formulate a hazard-focused response plan. At least 25 to 30 men and women participants in each session were mobilized from BDRRMC. Participants were key community formal and informal leaders, school BDRRM committee, representatives from the vulnerable groups such as women, aged, person with disability, and other interested committed individuals. All the data gathered, maps and other informations were validated and agreed upon by the participants during the workshop. Task units were formed to undertake plan implementation responsibilities before, during, and after disasters. The importance of this process is the establishment of a community-based early warning systems and conducting periodic disaster drills. Institutionalizing and sustainability are few major concerns in CBDRRM initiative. The sustainability of this initiative is relied on the government units and communities, as demonstrated in the executive order issued by the government to create the Project Management Committee involving provincial authorities, DILG, local